It's a sobering fact. Canadians are carrying more personal debt than ever before. So what do you do when you hit bottom? Well, you can ask your creditors for a break, you can declare bankruptcy, or you can try a third and more controversial option. It's called debt settlement. And as Jackson Proskow tells us, in this 16/9 investigation, it doesn't always end well.
I don't know what your financial situation is right now.
We are going to have to try and figure something out pretty quickly.
We want to settle this before we go to court.
If you're in debt, this is the last thing you want to hear.
Give us the money.
You must be able to pay more than $300 a month.
Calls that won't stop. Creditors or collection agencies reminding you of bills past due.
I'm trying to help you out here, sir, but I can't unless you can help me out.
Bills you can't even begin to pay.
It's a court order.
We will pursue legal action.
So you'll be hearing from the courts.
So how did you end up that deep in debt?
Just slowly built up over time.
Ben Gibson of Owen Sound, Ontario was getting a lot of those calls. He was deep in debt, bank account empty, and no way out. Until he heard the reassuring voice of actor Alan Thicke.
Rewrite your script. No more drama from drowning in debt. Get your finances to where the only debt you owe is a debt of gratitude.
It sounded good. So Ben picked up the phone and called Cambridge Life Solutions.
They were very, very nice and just sort of made me feel comfortable. Like I wasn't going to deal with a soulless corporation.
What was the sales pitch?
We can save you at least 40% off what you currently owe, up to around 80.
They were slick.
Oh yeah, very slick. They had all the right sayings, all the right words. They knew how to put you at ease.
Tom Hallett of Beaton, Ontario heard about Cambridge Life from a friend. 27 years old, newly married, anxious to clear a $17,000 debt. So he too picked up the phone and heard a comforting voice.
Fantastic. They're so nice, so easy to talk to. Always curious about how my life was going, if everything was okay. They're really nice people.
Mike, he owed his credit card company over $9,000. Cambridge Life Solutions negotiated a settlement payment of only $900. Yes, $900.
Cambridge Life Solutions, or CLS, is the best known of more than a dozen debt settlement companies in Canada. They're all over the internet, saying they'll get your creditors to forgive 40, 50, up to 80% of your debt.
You got your $37,500 debt down to $12,500, which is about a 66% savings in principal.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It sounds too good to be true.
16/9 wanted to find out just what kind of promises debt settlement companies are making. So we put a producer on the phone to sample their pitches. Call after call.
I'm in a little bit of debt. How much am I going to save?
Company after company.
You've just taken your first steps toward financial relief.
I can't use the word guarantee, that's against the law, but what I can tell you is that they will settle.
They all made it sound pretty good.
You only pay back half of what you owe.
And made all kinds of promises.
So we want to get you out of debt. We want this in your rearview mirror, free and clear, 2 to 3 years is our goal.
Like the promise from a couple of companies that they could make lump sum settlements with TD Bank.
They're going to present to TD an offer with other clients too, so they can offer them millions of dollars and not just your one account.
You're a voice of one. You got to remember with us, we're a voice of many.
That's a lie. Doesn't happen that way.
Scott Hanna has heard it all before. He's a BC-based credit counselor who's been warning about debt settlement companies for the past 18 months.
The reality is, they're going to look at every proposal case by case by case.
TD Bank told us the same thing. We do not consider lump sum settlement offers. Here's how debt settlement works. Let's say you owe $10,000. A consultant says he'll talk to your creditor and work out a deal to repay, say, $5,000 and clear the debt. But first, you'll have to put that $5,000 aside in a special account over 2 or 3 years. And usually you pay the settlement company an upfront fee. If you have a deal, then those nasty collection calls will stop or slow down. At least that's what 3 companies told us.
We shoulder the burden of your creditor harassment. We take over the communications with your creditors.
You don't have to have anything to do with them anymore. We'll deal with them. They will leave you completely alone.
Ben Gibson says he got assurances too.
So they promised to make the phone calls go away?
Yeah, they said the phone calls wouldn't go away right away, but if they called, have them call this number and talk to your rep at CLS.
That's got to sound pretty attractive.
Sure it does.
What's the most ridiculous promise you've seen?
You can settle your debts, and it'll have no impact on your credit rating. And that really is ridiculous. Something sounds too good, we shouldn't bite it. We should look at things very, very skeptically.
Here's another thing to be skeptical about. This website had a picture of Prime Minister Stephen Harper and suggested Parliament will bail you out of debt. The site put our producer in contact with the company called Maple Leaf Debt Helpers. When he asked about the government bailout, here's what Maple Leaf told him.
If somebody tries to pass something off as a government program to you, for lack of better words, they're blatantly lying. That does not exist.
The ad said something about the government, though.
I'm not sure what the ad said, sir. That's not my department.
Maple Leaf Debt Helpers later told 16 by 9 they weren't aware of the website that directed people to them and that they don't offer government programs. The site has since been removed.
There's no government programs. It doesn't exist. It's false advertising. And buyer beware is important.
For this buyer, however, the promise of a big discount on his debt was irresistible. Tom Hallett says he paid Cambridge Life more than $2,500 in fees to settle his debt with the TD Bank.
I felt that there was something not going right. I just had that feeling inside. And then it was just, I would say about 2 or 3 weeks later, that I was served with the papers. They were basically just that TD was taking me to court.
Suing Hallett for his outstanding debt. He says he tried to contact Cambridge Life, but all he got was a piece of paper called a defense form.
They essentially washed their hands of me. They said that they had received my cancellation request and that I was going to be removed from the program.
Hallett was stunned. He says he never sent a cancellation request, but he says Cambridge Life ignored his follow-up calls and emails. They gave him back about 20% of his fee.
They never responded to me any of my questions. They never gave me anything. They never answered any questions. They never even tried to contact me.
Cambridge Life turned down our request for an interview, but they told us they've helped thousands of Canadians, settling more than $10 million worth of debt this year. They say that more than 92% of clients who finish their program come to terms with their creditors. But they wouldn't tell us how many people don't finish the program. And as for those upfront fees, Cambridge says they're common for many professional services. But that rationale for fees doesn't wash, in Manitoba at least. Last February, the government passed new regulations clamping down on how debt settlement companies do business. The first thing to go, big upfront fees. Manitoba Premier Greg Selinger.
Well, we were getting complaints from nonprofit agencies and consumers or citizens themselves that they were paying very large upfront fees for a service that in many cases did not actually reduce their debt, so they wound up being in worse shape.
Alberta has also outlawed upfront fees. This is how it now works in Manitoba and Alberta. No fee unless and until a repayment deal is reached. And if it's a one-time repayment, the fee can't be more than 10% of the debt owing.
Are you surprised that other provinces haven't taken the same steps?
I think they will eventually come along as the problem they become more aware of the problem. When people come together and understand how it's fair to people, that other provinces will probably pick up on the idea as well.
Credit counselor Scott Hanna says it shouldn't be taking this long.
It's very frustrating from the standpoint that we brought the concerns of the debt settlement industry to our various legislators and financial institutions 2 years ago, saying this is a huge problem in the U.S. and it's coming north, and we need to get on top of this fast. And so here we are over 2 years, and now we're just looking at this.
It seems like we're playing catch-up.
We are playing catch-up.
Ben Gibson, meanwhile, was out in the cold. He says Cambridge did refund him $361, but he still ended up nearly $1,200 out of pocket, leaving him with more, not less debt. He even ended up in court.
CIBC took the direction of legal action and sued me over the debt I owed.
Weren't they supposed to be negotiating on your behalf the whole time?
Oh yeah. So at that point I was leaving the program. Cut them loose and I'm done, and dealt with CIBC's lawyer directly.
In the end, Gibson declared bankruptcy.
So how do you feel about Cambridge Life after all this?
It's a joke. I wish they didn't exist. You're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to hurt yourself by not paying your bills and not dealing with your creditor going, look, I have a problem.
Were any of your debts cleared?
No.
Not a penny?
Nothing ever got dealt with.
And one footnote to add, since contacting Cambridge Life Solutions about our story, the company has decided to refund all of Tom Hallett and Ben Gibson's fees. In an email to 16 by 9, the company said it was an act of good faith, since the refund is not required by company policy. And that is our broadcast for tonight. From all of us here at 16 by 9, thank you for being with us as we kick off this new season. And we hope you will continue to be with us at our new time slot on Friday nights. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. We'll see you next week.